Hello and welcome to part 4 of the Blue Monday Jim Magilton special. It's day whatever, Jim. We sat here a little while, over lockdown. You coping okay?
Yeah. Do you know what? I had a bit of a brick wall last week. I was thinking, this is never ending, and everyone's in the same boat. But no, I soon got over it. There's a lot going on at the moment within the Irish Football Association. They're in search of a new manager, Sean, just so you know.
And can you think of anyone?
Yeah. And we're still working with our kids. Our kids are online and they're doing all sorts of stuff, and they've been excellent, and the parents are loving us because we're giving their kids these tasks to do every day, and they're uploading them and we get a chance to see it. So no, still pretty active.
Good stuff. What are you missing the most?
As always, it's the banter. I miss the banter.
Sorry, I'm doing my best.
I know. Listen, more than that shirt, you're doing more than your best. No, it's the day-to-day interaction with people. I always miss that. So, and I like to wind people up, as you know, and have fun, and I miss all that sort of thing. But do you know what? It's giving us all time out to reflect again and to really, prioritize your list, what's important to you. And you find out that in these times, more than anything, you find out about yourself again. And as I say, I'm used to self-isolation throughout my whole career. So it's probably been slightly easier for me, I have to be honest.
Has it given you time to think about what your next move would be in football?
Yeah, I think so. And again, there is obviously a lot of talk around. Meghal's just done a magnificent job with Northern Ireland and brought real credibility back to the association. We're competitive now. We're competing to try and qualify for major tournaments, which is huge for us. So, and there's again a lot of talk around me being linked to the job, which is very flattering again. And no, I want to stay in football, Sean. I really want to stay in football. I love my current job because I'm influencing young players. But again, I think that if an opportunity came up where I get asked to go and manage a football club again, it certainly would interest me. Yeah,
it'd be great. It'd be great to have you back as a manager again, which is quite apt for where we are with part 4. So we ended part 3 where you retired as a player, and I think I recall you saying in the last interview that you were being interviewed by Brenna Woolley about names that were being put in the ring for the Ipswich job, and you thought potentially you might consider that. So I was just wondered, was there any concern you had about not having time to recharge after having a long career as a player?
Oh, most certainly, yeah, most certainly, and especially my wife. She wanted time out, but no, as I've always said, I think I said to you, I've been focusing on the next stage of my career for a very long time, and the focus was always going to go into coaching or managing, preferably managing, because I had limited experience as a coach. But I knew I could deal with players. I knew I could deal with chief executives. I knew I could deal with chairmen. So again, that people person to me, I felt very relaxed. I just wanted the opportunity to go through an interview process. It was honestly, it was as simple as that. And Derek Bowden and David Sheepshanks both agreed, which again was tremendous of them. They didn't have to. Obviously, Joe leaving was a major surprise for everyone. So they were in the middle of trying to find a new manager. And Brenner's asking, I'm thinking, I might throw my name in the hat here. Why not? Stranger things have happened. So that whole process, that was quite a surreal experience. And, I turned up to, if you like, a bogus interview with Derek and David. And I don't think they took me too seriously. I think they were dressed in Panama hats and, cocktails, and I was pretty serious. And anyway, listen, that whole process was just fantastic. I loved it. I was loving the pressure cooker situation. Obviously, there were fantastic names being linked with the football club, and that was grand. That was great. And as I said, I was still preparing to leave. Pickford were at the door. I was trying to, play the waiting game and manage then to put down my thoughts on how I would like a football club to be run. I came up with a 9-point plan around the club culture, around scouting, player acquisition, about season planning, about even the physio room and the gym and the dressing rooms, and all these thoughts. Trevor Curtin was brilliant. Once I got into the job, probably should save it, but it's quite apt now. Yeah, he said, I watched Bobby Robson's documentary the other night, and I'm blown away by it. I was just, again, I'd seen it, but I'm just blown away by him, the person. But I was talking about changing rooms, getting the changing rooms where the away changing, and Big Trev would turn around and say, yeah. Is that when we won the European Cup Winners' Cup and finished second in the league with that group of players, and the dressing room was still down there? Oh, yeah, you're right, Trevor. Yeah, that was a very successful period. And we won the league, and, with Sir Alf. And, yeah, I'm changing the changing rooms. So just get on board, right? Because I'm fed up having to walk by the away changing room from our physio room to get to our home dressing room. So all those sorts of things were already in my head. So I had plans, I had thoughts. And then I got the opportunity. And the opportunity, when it came down to the final three, I thought, oh, I could be in with a wee shout here. I definitely am. I'm coming fast along the outside wheel here, or the inside wheel. So yeah, I was. It was a very exciting time, I have to say.
Who did you speak to for a bit of advice in the game when you were going for the interview?
A lot of people that had come to know. There were ex-managers thrown into the hat, ex-players, and players who had made that change. And I was one, Michael O'Neill was another one, and they were just giving me a little heads up and helping me actually with presentations. It was the first real PowerPoint presentation I'd ever created and conducted and actually presented. So all this was all new to me. Albeit I was starting my coaching badges and I was very much IT literate, but I still wanted. It was the excitement. Honestly, it was the excitement. I was saying, do I want another pre-season? I wouldn't mind standing there as a manager in the pre-season, but so anyway, all them things kind of way happened in a very quick succession. So there wasn't time really to reflect. And I said, I'm not really that type of a reflector anyway. I tend to want to get the next stage. Always hungry for something else, So this was the next stage.
So how did the interview go then? So they're there with their Panama hats, and I kind of see you standing there with a clicker and slide effects on a PowerPoint. Yeah.
No, I kind of stormed out. I have to be honest. I kind of took it pretty serious. I wasn't happy. They were in holiday mode, and I was in business mode. And then there was a kind of a few phone calls here and there, and right, okay, let's. He's serious. This mad Irishman's actually serious here. Let's put him through it. So we kind of then set up another one, and every day there was speculation, managers being linked with the club, but I was pretty much focused how I would prepare, shirt and tie, briefcase, plan, right? This is the plan, this is what I see. And then it got to the final three. I think it was Colin Calderwood, myself, and Nigel Pearson, I think was the final three, and we had to get to Liverpool Street, and then we were going to be met at Liverpool Street and told the destination, right? So I'm thinking this is James Bond. So I had John Pickers with me, who was our analyst. He was more nervous than me. I had to calm him down. So he had set up, he had helped with a lot of the work. So obviously our youth team had a fantastic season, and they won the Youth Cup, and a lot of talk was around them and who was emerging from that. Garvin was going to emerge, Danny to maybe a lesser extent, Chris Casement was emerging, Sups was emerging, and others. So there was a lot of talk around that, and I was doing a lot of work around that too. And so I got to Liverpool Street. I got met by a person, I forget who it was, and I was told the destination, and I had to wait in the room. Chairman came in and said hello, and I walked in. It was half moon. I'll never forget it. Half moon, and they were all there. So 13 members of the board, including Holly, 12 or 13, I think, and they were all there waiting in anticipation. I set up the PowerPoint, and John was asked to leave, and I kind of went, oh, John's being asked to leave. Have I got my clicker? Is that working? And then so I got boom, press, and then away I went. So I had a plan around, I'd say, it was in season play. I've actually got bits and pieces written down. So the youth development, medical department, facilities, just the whole, and the culture of the football club. You know, Joe had done a remarkable job getting us competitive again. We obviously had the very successful George Burley years, but again, it was just the identity of the club and what the club meant to the supporters. And that meant, and what it meant to me as a player. And obviously then it came down to the players. You know, there wasn't going to be a massive budget. So that youth team was always going to be quite significant to anybody who was coming in. So that was an important aspect of my presentation too.
How did you feel when they, what was it, a phone call or an email to say that you got the job?
I was in Benel Medina or Benel Medina, whatever way, and son number two, he and I were on the beach, and we were messing about, waiting on wife and son number one, who always took the longest to get ready. So we're ready, we're about to go for dinner, and there wasn't a timeline on it. You know, I wasn't sure. I obviously made everyone aware I was going on holidays. And that was our, you know, destination. We used to go, we still go. So me and Ryan are messing about with the ball. I get a phone call. I'm looking out, and the chairman, as only the chairman can do, well, how are you? I said, I'm actually playing football on the beach with my son. And he says, oh, shock, horror, you with the ball. So I went, I know. So I can't do without it. He went, well, do you think you could do it with a ball for the next few years? And I went, well, what do you mean? He says, are you sitting down? I went, no. And I said, but listen, if I faint, I'll be okay because there's plenty of sand around me. He said, well, you're now unofficially, until we make it official, the new manager of Ipswich Town. So that just went, soared. My heart soared. My boy, Ryan, is doing a jig. He's loving it. Me and him are going. So I walks Glenn and Adam, and I said, you won't believe I've just got the job. I've got the job. She went, what? Pickford is at the door. We're going back to Liverpool. I went, you can go back to Liverpool. And if you want to take them too, take them with you. I'm heading straight to Portman Road. Nothing's going to stop me. You're here. And I said, I don't know how long you're going to be here, but you're staying, and we're going to be the manager of the football club. So that was it, mate. So it was really special. I still remember it to this day, and the boys do. And I think one boy was happy, and the other was not so happy because he was going back in the big school. I didn't. See you later. Have boots, we'll travel.
So it was the 5th of June when you were announced as town manager. Can you take us through that day? The only bit that I remember is when you sat on the chair. The chair was really low. You were Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah. It was, again. Do you know what? I was nervous. I was definitely nervous, but good nerves. Very excited, and was surrounded by people who were genuinely very pleased for me. I could feel that, and our press genuinely seemed pleased, and there was a real good feel factor within the building that day. I had appointed Brian as assistant manager. I know we talked that. And I had Charlie Woods, who was coming in as an assistant with great experience. Both had unbelievable experience at the football club. So I kind of twisted Brian's arm to come out of development into performance, basically, but was always going to be the link between our academy and our professional staff, our first team change room, which I felt was very, very important, obviously because of on the back of the youth team as well. So no, there was genuine excitement, and the press the day flowed. I think Brenner was more shocked than anyone. So there was genuine excitement. I felt it, and I did a few video interviews and were very positive. But again, the Ipswich public were, they were excited for me, but they wanted to know what the plan was. This is Ipswich Town Football Club. It's all well and good, and zippity doo dah. Jim's here. Jim's now, he's now put a lot at stake here because the player, well, he'll be judged as a player. I was judged as a player, and I was putting that on the line to be judged as a manager, a rookie manager at 37, going into a first job. that was, and that was again the fearlessness in me and the determination to succeed in me. And it was a throwback to when I left Northern Ireland as a 16-year-old boy going to Liverpool. Well, then I'd gone on this 20-year playing career. Now to put it all on the line as a manager with a club that I adored, and with with a group of supporters who had a real fondness for me too. So, but that was all going to be put on the line. I wanted to be judged. I wanted to be judged from day one. I'm not one of them that sit back and go, oh well, you give me a little bit of this and a little bit of that. No, I wanted to be judged. I didn't want to be judged so harshly at times towards the end. But again, that's the nature of the beast. That was just the way it ended.
Unfortunately, we'll get to that bit later on. Obviously, as a player, you've got freedom to play, and your agents are dealing with your contracts and transfers and stuff like that. How much knowledge did you already have in regard to transfers and contracts, and to what extent is it learned on the job as you go in your role as manager?
Not a great deal, because the only dealings I would have done with contracts was my own contract, and if other players had come to me. So over the years, players have come to me, mostly younger players. So I would have given them instructions to ask for this, to ask for that, or if they ever wanted me to go in and speak on their behalf to the manager, I would. So I had limited experience in that field, but I knew lots of agents. I could pick the phone up to lots of agents, and through 20 years, you tend to build up a network of agents, and a network of coaches, and a network of managers that you could pick the phone up to. So again, I had no problems with that. I didn't feel insecure about that at all. I just knew that obviously once the word got out, managers were there. Managers want to protect managers, and they want to help you. I've always found that. And if I didn't know something, I had no problem picking up a phone to Sir Bobby, for example, who was incredible for me, or other managers who were, as equally as important to me. Brian Hortons of this world were equally as important to me. So, no, I didn't have a great deal, but you learn very quickly on the job. And I had great support in the chairman and Derek. They were fantastic support. And the whole finance too. Andrew was brilliant as well. So I had no problems with any of them.
Do you remember what Sir Bobby said to you?
Be patient. Try and be patient. Two faces, one for the players and one for your staff. He said, because you have to, no matter what, and I heard it on his interview again, who motivates the motivator? It's difficult. So try and be positive. Always be positive. Coach when you're winning. Things that Joe had said to me. Coach when you're winning. Players, they'll do anything if they're winning games of football. Try not to let negativity, surround you. Don't be sending out those messages. But that's well and good to a 37-year-old who had just finished playing, who still had football in his veins, and the player in his veins. Sorry, and the emotion that is attached to that. So it was a quick, steep learning curve for me.
In your first press conference, apart from Bilbo Baggins, other phrases that came out were promotion and Premier League. Were you given a specific brief from David Sheepshanks at all?
No, and that would have been unfair. I think that we mentioned it simply because we wanted to give out hope. But you can't kid kidders. Do you know what I mean? And you certainly couldn't kid the Ipswich public. We finished where we finished because we lacked depth and we lacked quality. So to replace that, you need money. And there wasn't a great deal of money, and you had to hold your hand up. Albeit you weren't going to turn around and say that at your opening press conference. By the way, we're skint, and we're not going to. It was all about wheeling and dealing anyway. It was always going to be about that. Alex Bruce was your first signing as a free transfer. Alex did a great job for the club. So that sort of network, and so it wasn't mentioned. But listen, the dream for me was to get us promoted and to be a Premier League manager. That would have been that was the ultimate goal, the ultimate dream. But soon as the press conference was over, I remember closing the door and was on my own. Man, oh my goodness, this is it. I'm sitting at the desk where Joe and George had been, and I always had, again, as I said, very professional relationships with both. Probably more personal with Joe than I was with George, which was fine. But this was me now. I kept looking under the table to see if there was a rule book or there was a guide. But no, the only thing I got was referees' reports. Joe's referee reports were super, unbelievable. You know, he was quick-witted and humour. Remember, we were looking at one, Andy Durso, the Andy Durso, right? My mate Andy. And Joe's comments about Andy were, and Andy was a bit straight. He was okay, Andy was okay, and he was very straight. And Joe went, couldn't spot a foul in a hen house. I loved it. So I used it all the time. Could not spot a foul in a hen house. And on that day, he was 100% right.
Yeah, let's not talk about Andy Durso. We all have a view about him. Before any Jim Magilton team kicks a ball, did you have an idea of your sort of system or philosophy that your teams were going to play?
Well, they were always going to play with the ball. They were always going to play with the ball, and they were always going to try and play out from the back. And we were always going to, depending on personnel and depending on the makeup of the team, we had two plans, two systems. It was maybe a 3-5-2 or a 4-3-3, or an adaptation of that, with maybe a 4-4-2 with a diamond. So we were just looking at players. We were trying to envisage who are the strongest characters. Now I knew them all. Who's going to take the ball first? What are their strengths and weaknesses? There's, you know, I love this thing about Barcelona and the tiki-taka, but if you're forcing players to do something that they're not particularly good at, it just seeps away at their confidence, and then all of a sudden they're losing games of football, and then they're blaming you. Well, probably right, they're blaming you because the system doesn't suit the players. So I tried to get a system in my mind that I would want to play. Gavin Williams was going to, play a more integral part of that as well, because he was such a good footballer. Could we get him on the ball? Owen Garvin, can we get him on the ball? Kind of way it was the passing over the Garbs. Garbs could hopefully have taken the game by the scruff of the neck, which he did in certain games. So we had good footballers, but we just had to get the right blend.
Were you influenced by any of the managers that you'd played under? Were you not tempted to go for a gung-ho Joe Royle sort of?
No, definitely not. No. And again, because of Joe's upbringing in the game, because Joe was a very, very good player, but the focus was always playing it into the front man and play off the front man, regardless if it comes to midfield or not, as long as it's done with quality. So it wasn't going to happen like that for me. Listen, at the end of the day, there are times in any game of football where you have to go back to front maybe earlier, because midfield players in the opposition are pressing the game, and you have to flip it into your front man who gets hold of it and brings it into play. There was none better than Pablo. The quicker you got the ball into Pablo, who secured the ball for you and brought other people into the game, the better. So, no, I wasn't averse to it. It just wasn't the way I wanted to go, because, again, my upbringing at Liverpool was to play. But, again, it was to make good decisions. Clear your lines, win your headers, win your second balls. That's not dirty words in football. That's just the game, and you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to roll your sleeves up and compete. Most important game, the most important thing in football is competing. And aggression. There are many different forms of aggression. It's the open aggression that we see, and people are clapping. It's the headers, it's your tackles, all these sorts of things. But there's the aggression in terms of movement and your running and the physical aspects of that, and also getting on the ball, demanding the ball. And that was always something that stuck by me throughout my career. I always tried to get myself in a position to receive the ball and didn't hide. So I was looking at characters and personnel to really develop that at the club.
You got fantastic support in your first game at home to Crystal Palace, which coincided with my daughter's first game at 5. And I remember being at that game and the crowd really supportive. How was it for you walking out as a manager instead of walking out as a player?
Oh, incredible. But the weight of the world was on your shoulders too, because as a player, you're out there and you're going, just about me. This is solely about me. Have I prepared properly? Am I physically and mentally ready for the game? Well, as a manager, you're thinking about 27,000 people inside the stadium. You're thinking about the chairman and the board. You're thinking about all the people that have wished me well, the build-up of pre-season, your staff, hoping your staff are relaxed, focused but relaxed. And most importantly, the players. Are the players ready? And certainly, on the day, they were certainly ready. Blistering hot as well. Nicky Forster. Was it Nicky? Nicky Forster gave us a lead, didn't he? And, and then it just didn't happen for us on the day. And it was kind of way system. It was kind of way the way the first 2 months kind of way went for us.
Well, you lost your first 3 in the league, but then in the next 6 you win 4 and drew 2, and then we see new faces like Dan Harding, Alex Bruce, John Macken, and a young Mark Noble come into your team. Can you talk to me about building a team and those first few games in the dugout?
It was surreal because I kept thinking, should I be in the stand watching? And because I always saw myself with watching at least 45 minutes, and allowing Steve Foley, great experience, and Brian, great experience, to deal with that. And for me, watching it above gives you a better picture of it, especially when you're at eye level at the start. So I was mixed about that too. And again, the walk from our boardroom down to the changing room gives you time to reflect and time then to deliver a message. First 5 minutes after at halftime, emotions can be running high with players, or they're just taking stock of what has happened, depending on what the result was. So, and it was given them as a 5 minutes, and I always broke it down. So 5 minutes with me, and then 5 minutes with the staff quietly. Maybe staff would be speaking to one-to-ones. So that's kind of way the plan for me was always set like that. 5 minutes for the player, physio, 5 minutes for me. 5 minutes is enough. Sometimes it wasn't, but and then allowing your senior staff then to have little conversations, because we always had a chat before I actually went in. What's your thoughts? Okay, great. We're all on the same page here. Okay, let's go. So building the team was essentially around footballers. We wanted football. I understood the expectation levels at the football club, and I was trying to get as many footballers into the team as we possibly could. Again, people who demanded the ball, people who weren't, who wouldn't be intimidated, but rather inspired by it. And Noble was one. Always wanted the ball. I loved him. I knew him as a kid, and I'm so pleased that he's gone on to have a career. Macken was the same. Macken at the height of John Macken was some player, but again, I knew he'd give us experience and calmness, and that was important. And I knew Jason would deliver as well. Jason was never going to shirk for any. Jason was a tremendous captain for me too. So it was always trying to get as many footballers in the team as I could.
So at the midpoint of the season, Town are 15th, and we're 8 points off the playoffs. So if we focus on the highlights of the season, a 5-0 win over Luton with an Alan Lee hat-trick and an East Anglian derby success at your first attempt, with a future Derby Day specialist scoring twice in the 3-1 win. How special were those first managerial triumphs, and how were you finding the transition?
The transition was fine for me. It was more difficult for the players. As I said, I'd always had this fixation going into the other side, and it was more difficult because the players still saw me probably as their mate or not, and for me then to be their boss, they kind of took them a little bit of time. I didn't mind that people get caught up with gaffer and boss, and they were still calling me Jim, and I was quite happy with that. I knew it was going to take time. It didn't bother me in the least that they didn't say, Gaffer, can we do this or do that? I was still Jim to them. That was grand. And then they slowly but surely, it was Gaffer, boss, how are you? Yeah, good morning. Listen, I always try to keep good open lines of communication. I'm still the same person. And pressure, it was a different type of pressure for me because it was a collective pressure instead of the individual pressure. And those early months, I probably took an awful lot on board. I took an awful lot upon myself, and it was readjustment. It was just complete readjustment, mindset readjustment, time management readjustment, and staff readjustment. Staff knew me as the player. Now I'm involved. I'm getting an insight into the staff. I'm working with the staff. I'd set up a schedule for the staff. I'd set up meetings for the staff. They're all about I want to discuss everyday players. I want to discuss where they are, what they're up to, right? And in terms of everything, so I got to know all the players, their waves. I studied, I wanted to know kids. I wanted to know everything about them. So I did a lot of work behind the scenes on that, and I think that helped.
So the 3-1 win against Norwich.
Yeah.
How did that feel? That
was pretty amazing. Danny came off the bench, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that morning, I get a phone call from Matt Bayard, right? And Danny's telling everyone he's not fit. So I live 5 minutes away from the training ground. I whizzed around and I went, "What's up with you?" and he's like, "Ah." I went, "You're not fit. You seemed all right yesterday." And Matt said, medically, he was fine. Okay, clinically, he was fine. So mentally, I went, "Okay, Dan, here's the thing. Be there at 2:00. We're playing Norwich, and you're sitting on the bench, son. So you can limp to your car and you can limp on the pitch, but listen, stranger things have happened." I remember saying, "Stranger things have happened. You could be a hero today." Lo and behold. So I got him off that bench and said, "Right, get your backside to Portman Road, rapido."
Like Lazarus.
Oh,
yeah.
Frightening.
So in the FA Cup third round, you come up against Chester City and their 23-year-old forward John Walters.
Yeah.
The story says that you go on to sign John based upon the cup ties.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about how this played out and whether Walters was your greatest discovery as Ipswich manager?
Well, he's up there, isn't he? John has to be, because John, and the thing about John, if you do due diligence on John, he had wonderful pedigree, you know, from Blackburn to Bolton, Premier League clubs to Hull, and successive managers raved about him. And John was going personal stuff with family at the time too. John murdered DeVos and I think Alex on the day, maybe even been Bam that day on one of them. But right away, they were talking about the other centre forward, and I keep forgetting who that was, the Chester centre forward, and not talking about John. And it's the moment I saw John, I went, "Player." So Charlie's going, "Player, get him." I went, "Charlie, let's find out about him." So I was actually up in Great Ormond Street, and the deal was being done. And then it hit a snag, 11th hour snag. I'm going, "Oh, what's going on?" So I'm jumping on a train back from Liverpool Street to get the deal done. Charlie meets me, says, "Listen, there's one or two little things we just need to sort out, John." And so I'm, "Where is he?" So he was in the boardroom. John in the boardroom, had a conversation with him, said, "Right, we're going to do this, aren't we?" "Yeah, we're going to do this." Boom, got it done. And then John never held back. All we did was give John a platform and give him the confidence. Shifting John to wide areas, when we shifted him, he could be unplayable there. And he was a nightmare for fullbacks. Balls on the opposite side. Fullbacks kind of way half towards seeing John. But anything stood up far post for John. John's going to win the header. And he scored it. He scored goals coming in off the line. And he, again, unbelievable attitude, low maintenance, high output John. Type of player you want. Type of player you want at your football club. And he was such a well-respected lad. And I enjoyed a great relationship with him. And I'm glad he had a great career.
We've spoken about you being so demanding on the pitch in training and leading by example. Did you have to think about your fiery nature, I want to call it that, in terms of management at any point?
Yeah, 100%. And again, guided by staff. There were times when I wanted to be there 24/7. At times, Brian and Steve said, "Relax, we'll take training." And I hear all this rubbish about training was this, and training was excellent. We prided ourselves every week, every day. I heard, "Oh, the training was this," and the players said, players loved it. Players loved it because everything was with the ball and fitness, and that's where you get it, right? And it was all the things that they liked. And I always had a fantastic relationship with Jason. I brought Jason into team meetings. Now, you let Jason go, he's worse than me. He's automatic guns. So we had to keep him in check, and in a very respectful way, but always, right, tell me the mood in the camp, what's going on. Jason would, again, he's an intellectual boy, and he would come back and we'd have conversations. So I was kind of, that was the link to the change room. So, yeah, I had to keep things in check at times because I actually had to stop watching warm-ups, tell you that, before a game. I saw people do things in warm-ups. And again, warm-ups are very, very personal. I hate this group warm-up. It just drives me insane. But I had to walk in. I used to watch the stations and think, "Oh, he's going to have a stinker today." I can just smell it. But I was like that as a player. I could tell by little things. Their tell signs. We couldn't have been poker players. I'd have cleaned them out, poker players. But I used to go, "Oh, look at his standards in the warm-up." You know what I mean? He keeps giving the thing away in the warm-up. So I said, "Jim, relax, will you? The game's about to kick off. Doesn't matter what he does in the warm-up. It's what matters when he blows the whistle at 3. But again, standards. Always try to raise the standards of the players and try and lead by example. And I had some leaders in the pack who were helping with that too.
Fantastic. It's March 2007 when your name is first linked with the top job at the IFA as a potential successor to Laurie Sanchez. Did you have any serious thoughts about an international job at this stage of your career?
No, because I was a rookie in more ways than one. Very green behind the ears. Had experience, a few lows and a few losses. But no, I'm very passionate about Northern Ireland, and more than anything, I wouldn't have wanted to let them down. And secondly, I had a massive club job to consider, and again, I was at the start of it, and there was never serious consideration with it, and that's fact.
Maybe there'll become a time in the future when it might just be the right time for you to get the job. You end the season with a nice run of one defeat in 8 to end the season, and that run includes that extraordinary game at Ellen Road where Leeds were facing relegation, and Alan Lee scores an 88th minute equaliser. You say on BBC, and I quote, "It was a shambolic but brave decision to come back out. This one should have been called off." Yeah, can you take us through those events and how scary it was, and did you refuse to go back out?
No, I didn't. I can't remember refusing to go back out. I think because Gus Poyet was Dennis's assistant as well, and we were having a conversation. I think we were fearful of the players, you know, and I have huge respect for Leeds United. It's a fantastic football club, and I really do hope they get promoted. I really do. They deserve to be in the top division. But that it kind of way was a little bit scary, and again protecting the players. And I wasn't sure what was going to kick off. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. It would only have taken one fan to do something, and you didn't want that. So anyway, the decision was, right, we go, and then we played it, and then it was done. But it was a sad day, a real sad day, because when I played against the Leeds United teams, they were great teams. Do you know what I mean? McAllisters, the Strackens, the Speeds, you know, the Barrys, some side, really top side. So it was a very sad day, I have to say.
A number of the Ipswich fans went home with more money than they went with all of the 2p's and 10p's thrown at them in the away end, I think.
Yeah.
So the season ends with Town finishing 14th. What was your feeling, your first season?
I think it was where we deserved to finish. You know, you can't get away from that. I think there was a huge, you know, settling down. There was it was a major sea change for everybody. People were getting used to me. I was getting used to them. There was a different way of doing things around the football club. I was trying to put my stamp on it, my personality on the club, on the staff, on the players. So I think 14th was probably right. And again, reflection. Where do we go? How do we strengthen? What's going to happen next? Pre-season had to be sorted. Players had to be talked to. And there was lots to do. I learned a great deal. Claire Emerson, who now is Claire Westlake, was a huge help to me as well in those early days. Francine came in, who Claire kind of way handed the reins over. And, you know, Charlie was a great help. The two girls helped me enormously around the football club. German was a great help. Derek was a great help. Board meetings were, again, an eye-opener for me, sitting in budget meetings. So it was all new to me, and it was something I embraced. I loved it. I actually loved it, you know, and I knew it was tough. It was going to get even tougher. But first season reflection was great.
Does the work actually stop? Because, I mean, obviously as a player, you disappear. And so were you working during the whole close season?
Yeah, 24/7. 24/7. You may get a couple of weeks where but you never have your phone out of your hand. You're still waiting. You're still anxious. You're still waiting for phone calls. You've got players on radars. You're talking to agents. You don't really switch off, no.
So 2007-8 starts with a 4-1 win at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Neil Alexander debuting in goal after a free transfer. And it's the return of Tommy Miller and Pablo Canago. Talk to me about the view that you should never go back.
Yeah, I toyed with it. I fought with it. I wrestled with it so much. But we needed quality, and I knew both would give me quality, and I knew they had an identity with the club, and I knew that they had a relationship with the fans. So, and I knew there's still a lot in the locker. And more importantly, they were going to send, a message to the dressing room, and they played at the height of our fame too, Premier League, and I just felt that we needed that stability and that calmness, and both were really good players.
Picking up on Tommy, Roy Keane mentions the transfer in his book.
Yeah.
What's your view?
It was, we were trying to get Tommy over the line. Then Supps and Lewis, Price both got injured. And I was looking for a goalkeeper, screaming, searching. So Tommy's deal was put on hold. And the chairman had been speaking to Niall Quinn. And then Niall just said, tell Jim just to give Roy a call, just reassure him it's going to happen. So it was late. It was really late. And I just completed Mike Pollock for one game. And it was an Norwich game. So on the eve of that, so I rang Roy, and Roy was in the car. I said, Roy, listen, I have a major problem here. And before he even got problem, he went on into one. You're this, you're that, you were like that as a player. I went, what do you, Roy, it's a derby. You call that a derby? You call that a derby? No, yeah, I do, because it is a derby, and it's important to us. And both goalkeepers are injured. I need a goalkeeper. And that brings me up to 5 loanees, I think, at the time. So I'll do the deal. I promise you the deal will get done. But it was just, right? So, and then he got it back. In the end, I just had enough. And I went for him. And then it was just it was a Mexican standoff that was just rant. And told him where to go. He told me where to go. No problem. See you later. Boom. And I thought he'd be more, more understanding, but he wasn't. He just went jugular, as only Roy could do. And I don't think I've ever seen him since, although he got very comfy in my chair.
Do you consider this your side now, after a year of being in charge?
Yeah, I can see lots of good characteristics about it, and we were still developing that mindset. I think every player that ever comes to Ipswich Town actually doesn't understand the size of the club. I was the same. I knew the history, but I never really understood. Again, right, the club's reputation away from Suffolk. Every time we walked in Ipswich Town, it was kind of like the favourite second team. I didn't really get that until I was in, because I was so focused on getting back into the Premier League. Well, I think they understood that now, and I was developing a thing with the chairman, an Ipswich Way thing. It was a code of conduct. It was how we're placed in the game, how we want. It was a living, breathing document. It wasn't just something that was just going to be put to print. I've actually still got it, but this is our life. This is the way it should be. This is how you conduct yourself. This is the way you walk around this building, right? And everybody bought into it, and we were still developing that.
So at home, you start the season with a sensational 9-game winning streak. But winning away from home is a bit of a struggle, and I think it's about the 14th attempt. How can you be the top of the home form and bottom of the away form table?
It was mind-boggling, and then because we were so fluent and so fluid and so dynamic, and looked like every time we went on an attack at home we were going to score, we just were so irresistible. Do you know what I mean? Away from home, we tried to change things. We tried to even, we were looking at, hotels. Everything goes through your mind. And then in the end, it's about, there was a flaw. There had to be a flaw in characters. There had to be a flaw in personalities. So we kept looking at them. We kept looking at them as individuals. We had group meetings. We spoke to them. Again, we handed over responsibility to the players. What's going on? Is it the system? Is it this? Is it that? Nobody had an answer. We kept consistently where we were consistent in our selection. Can't remember all. I think there was a period where we kind of were throwing him in or throwing him in, and maybe we just had to allow in reflection just a bit more continuity, and they might have come. But no, we just couldn't put a finger on it. it was very depressing. I can tell you, the journeys home were very depressing.
I can imagine. First time this guy is going to get a mention, but the multi-millionaire businessman Marcus Evans, there's stories that he's interested in buying the club. What were you told about this potential new owner?
Just that, exactly, just as you said it. And the board were working extremely hard behind the scenes. There was a lot going on. I was privy to some, but not all. I knew that, like anything, once someone comes into the radar, I did a little bit of homework on Marcus. I had a little dossier on Marcus and kept thinking, well, what type of man is he? But he was so elusive, as you know. So whatever I could dig out was probably what everybody else was digging out about him. But no, still focused on the job. And that was kind of way communicated to me by the fantastic board and the chairman and the chief executive. Just focus on the job, Jim. Keep focused on the job. Keep the players focused on the job. Again, it's difficult because social media is mad and there was a lot of coverage.
You must have been doing something right, because in November 2007, you and Brian signed two-year deal contracts, which would take you to the end of 2010. What was your take on this? And was Marcus Evans involved at all in these negotiations?
Yeah, he was. He was spoken. Again, that was alluded to me through Derek. Derek had said no. He's happy with the club. He's happy with the team, the staff, and I met him. I went to his house in London. Very keen Secret Service. It was pick up, drop off. Here's his house. Security guard came to meet me. Went in, and I found him a lovely host. He admitted that his football knowledge was limited, right? But he was open and very good listener. I told him all about me, very honest. Told him my background, told him where I thought the club should be, told him the type of player we needed. And a few hours absolutely flew in. As I say, I found him very hospitable, very gracious, and away I went. And he said, listen, good luck in the job. And away I went, and that was good enough for me. So, again, delighted to have signed, delighted for Brian, and away we went, go and focusing on the job again.
So you say that obviously he acknowledged that he had, limited football knowledge. So did he immediately make his plans and expectations clear at that point?
Well, if you're buying a football club and you're in that bracket and you're going to hand over a pot of money, you're hoping the pot of money is going to be well spent and you hope you're going to be competitive. So by doing so, the next step for us is Premier League. Now, I didn't put that weight of expectation on us. That was again generated in iCloud and around the terraces and around Suffolk and more and around the leagues. I remember an instance, Sheffield United, Kevin Blackwell put something in his what do you call it, team sheet, or his, the magazine, the
program notes. Yeah.
So my head went blank. I looked at him. Expectation levels, this, that, and the other. Manager talking about another man, pots of money, but they win the game. I went through him like a dose of salts. Honest to God, I went, what are you doing? Honestly, you've enough on your plate. Don't you be worried about me or spending my money. You mind your own business. Don't you ever been talking about my football club again. Ever. And he was kind of way. I said, no, you leave that out. You no need to do that. I think you're out of order. And then there was a few apologies thrown about. So again, around the division, there was a lot of talk. So more pressure. But again, I chose to ignore it. I just chose to deal with the players and try and get the very best out of them.
I must admit, I'm ashamed to put my hand up along with about 2,000 Ipswich Town fans who were waving our £20 notes at Carrow Road when he took over. But we'll move on from that. So basically, we were broke from from administration, going into administration until Marcus Evans took over.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we've got loads of money to spend, and you're presumably the profile of player that you're looking at changes. Yeah. Talk to me about that first transfer window. David Norris, Velice Zumilkowski, Alan Quinn, and Stephen Bywater.
Yeah, experience, quality. Wanted to bring a different type, rugged characters. Do you know what I mean? Great experience. Could handle the pressure, the expectations, and I had very high hopes for all of them. So with any player, I used to sit them down and have a very strong conversation with them. I used to talk about my demands, the demands I would have, the demands I would put on them, the demands I would expect them to carry out in the dressing room. And whatever happened in the dressing room stayed in the dressing room. Players run dressing rooms. George never really got involved in the dressing room. Joe never got involved. We had personalities who dealt with the dressing room. So I was looking to develop that strong cord through the dressing room, a vocal cord, right? Everything would come through the captain to me, but all these guys were leaders in their own right. So it was just bringing that, level of quality higher.
So we go into Easter 2008, and you're right in the mix. Shefke returns and Danny Simpson coming on loan as well. So there's only 2 defeats in the final 12 games, but 6 draws in those games mean that we miss out on the playoffs by 1 point.
Yeah.
So given how open the league was, and I think Stoke won the league with went up automatically with 79 points, was this an opportunity missed?
Yeah, definitely with the players. Who were got it, absolutely got it. I was too. I felt we had a chance. I felt that we got in the playoffs, we would have a major say, and I felt that the players felt that too. The staff were smelling it. I'd been around it before. There was a smell of them. You knew that they. But again, a flaw. There was a flaw, as it were, in our teams. There was something just not quite right. Something that was missing, and maybe it was just an out-and-out goal scorer potentially. We were chasing 1 or 2, didn't happen. But someone who could convert the opportunities that we were creating. A lot of good players, and the blend in the change room was getting to where I actually wanted it. It should be run by players, and conducted by the manager. Standing back and watching things happen. So we were getting there, but still wasn't quite right.
Summer 2008 was a big turnover in players, or certainly a big recruitment drive. Gareth McCauley, John Stead, Kevin Lisby, obviously you talked about goals there earlier. Richard Wright returns.
Yeah.
Tim Balkestein, I think, paid for his own airfare to come over here. You got Ben Thatcher, Ivan Campo, and Maritz Bolts. Were you effectively trying to build a new side for the Marcus Evans era now?
Yeah, definitely. And again, you look at that great experience. Pim being the exception, we took a chance on Pim, and we liked Pim for large parts of it. But yeah, we were looking at the group, and I was moulding, a group of senior players. Then I felt very comfortable with the senior players, and they all had their own individual qualities and characteristics and flaws. But the dressing room was becoming more solid, more dependable, and more quality. So, and I thought for a championship season, we had enough in the locker to be really competitive.
Picking 2 of the names there. First of all, Ben Thatcher. He came with a bit of baggage and perhaps wasn't seen by us fans as, a player who would fit into the Ipswich way. Why did you consider him?
Different. He was different, and we needed different. We needed steel. We had, and Ben Thatcher was an excellent footballer. People forget that. He had a wonderful left foot. And again, we gave him an opportunity to come, and it was, without being disrespectful, a last real swan song for him. When I spoke to Ben convinced me. Again, I need convincing. It's okay recommending players and players coming. They need to convince me that, 1, they're going to buy into what we're selling, right? And 2, have they still got the fire and the drive to really be competitive? And again, you reflect back on your own opportunities and your own meetings and your own time with managers. I didn't have to sell anything to George. I just came with my boots, got into training, and from day one expected standards. You know what I mean? And it was up to me to deliver that. Well, it was exactly the same as a manager. Ben, here's what I want from you. If you step this side of the lane, then obviously we're going to be in trouble. You and I don't want to be in trouble. I never want to have another conversation. This is the last conversation we'll ever have about this. Go in, use your experience, use your quality, get yourself super fit, and let's see where we can take this. We've got great experience in our team. And that was the kind of conversation. I didn't have any more real conversations with Ben.
What attracted you to the 2 times Champions League winner Ivan Campo?
Just that. Just again, he's a lovely man, and Big Sam gave him a rave review, and other players gave him rave reviews. Very quiet man, but very determined character. Just loved his personality, loved his stamp, his character. He was very popular. You know, I liked him a lot too. It was fitting him into the team. It was fitting in, playing 3 at the back where I was wanting the edge towards, because he'd have took the ball in any situation. It was just bravery, and I was looking for more braver players because I knew what was coming. I expected a bit of an onslaught from not only our own supporters, but other supporters, other teams, other managers, and no matter what, I can't control once they step onto the park. Yes, you can make certain changes, but it's down to the player. And I wanted players who were big enough to take the responsibility, and he was certainly one of them.
A couple of backroom changes as well. Andy Rhodes leaves as goalkeeping coach, and Simon Hunt joins as scout. What was the thinking about that?
Just to freshen things up, but also the long-term plan. Simon Hunt was coming in to have a real plan moving forward, to really take. Marcus was having lots of conversations with agents. Agents were ringing him, obviously trying to sell as many players to him as he possibly could. So really to be that buffer, Simon to be that buffer between me and Marcus to a large extent, right? He had great knowledge, both European and domestic. When I spoke to him, he had already had a spell here with George. So there was he knew the club, he knew the quality, he knew what was the expectation levels of the club. Obviously that had risen with a new owner. But it kind of way was a buffer. So we'd have regular meetings, regular conversations. He'd be travelling. We'd be then sitting down. Charlie was a great help to me too because of his major contacts. So we could pick up lots of conversations with lots of managers. So there was that kind of way. Charlie was dealing with a lot of that too, which again freed me off to do my job, which was the players, making sure the players were in a good place. So, Andy going was just to freshen things up. And Andy had a great time here. His son was a great lad. And it was just a case of making a change. And Andy respected that. It was difficult at first, obviously because of his boy, Jordan. But listen, Andy's worked in football ever since because of his quality.
You mentioned Jordan Rhodes. In his last season with the club, you'd sent him out on loan. When he came back, obviously Roy Keane then sold him.
Yeah.
Did you think that was the right path for him to go as a player?
I would have liked to throw him in earlier, but I just wanted him to have a little bit more experience, to understand the physicality needed in the league, for him to get a real insight into professional football. It's okay sitting and watching. It's all right having a dad who's had a successful career, but it's actually the doing. And I wanted him to have an opportunity to go out and play, score goals, then bring him back and throw him in, especially around that dressing room. And the opportunity didn't present it as much, but I always had great faith in Jordan Rhodes. I always thought Jordan Rhodes was a goal scorer. Joe absolutely loved him. He smelled him a long time before we did, but certainly a goal scorer and a major talent.
In November 2008, you were linked with Herman Hreidarsson. Were you any close to signing your former teammate?
I think it was conversations, but Big Herman was always one that you'd get when it was, and most players are the same. When it's about you kind of get phone calls, and then that there are other irons in the fire. And it kind of way, Herman, we'd love you to come back to the club. 1, can we afford you? 2, where are you mentally? Are you ready to come back? Would you come back? I want to have a conversation with you. So there was conversation around that, but nothing. I didn't think we were ever in a real position to get him. No.
In fact, you were linked with loads of players. My wife's asked me for the last 2 nights what I've been doing. I've been writing down the names of players that you were linked with. There were so many, but I wanted to play a little game with you called Deal or No Deal, and you can just say if the deal was close. And there's some great players here. So we'll start off with Andy Carroll.
No deal.
David Nugent.
Deal.
you remember you told him to sod off on Radio Suffolk?
I did. I
And
really did.
And was that the end of the deal at that point?
He made, again with players, it's difficult because they're obviously getting an agent or influence them. Thought we had him, and it didn't happen.
Emil Mpenza.
Deal, but then agent got silly and no deal.
Ian Hart.
Deal, conversations, but again, petered out.
Jermaine Beckford.
No deal.
Andy Gray.
No deal.
Laurent Robert.
Deal. And Charlie was so influential in that. We thought he had him, and then I think reality bit for him. But no, very close. But no.
And the last one, Wes Houlihan.
Wes Houlihan? No, I can't remember that one. No.
That would have been a good one.
There was one or two others.
Oh, I'll tell you, there's a bit. Tell us about Shola Amiobi.
Yeah, I was a major fan. I just thought he was going to be the missing piece first. But he had injury problems, obviously, well documented injury problems. And again, when you're spending someone else's money, you have to make sure that it's done properly. So he had an exhaustive medical, and culminating in one or two little things that we didn't think was going to that we thought was going to impede, and potentially, if you're going to spend again that sort of money, you want to make sure that you're going to play a certain amount of games. So that was so. But what a great lad! I had a great relationship with his agent. He spent a few days down here. Charlie was going to strangle me. Charlie wanted to kill me because obviously he knew Shola through his Newcastle days with Sir Bobby. So in the end, it didn't happen. So disappointed in that one. Absolutely disappointed because, again, I thought such an imposing character and player that he would have given his real presence.
There are so many, so I'll move on. We'll be here all night going through the names. So it's now the middle of December 2008. Town are in 12th spot, 8 wins, 7 draws and 8 defeats. Given the new regime at the club, were you starting to feel the heat in the kitchen?
Yeah, because consistency, when you have that sort of quality and experience, I expected greater consistency and performances, and greater consistency and performance. Again, without putting any pressure on the players, they were good enough to have a better record than that. So it was finding the balance, and it was always constantly trying to find that balance within the group. So yeah, I wasn't happy.
How does it feel when you're a manager in a job, and the press are reporting the names of Alan Kirbishley, Neil Warnock, Tony Adams as well? We're all linked to the job when you're in it. How do you cope with that?
You kind of I dismiss it because they're not in the job. I'm in the job. So no matter what a paper writes, I'm still in the job. So they can sort off. So again, my job was to get the players, finding that balance within the players. I never felt any negativity within the dressing room. I didn't feel any negativity on the training pitch. I kind of was in a better position mentally in the job. I was handing trust over to staff, which was difficult, as a young manager. But I trusted the staff to deliver. And my paydays, if you like, were built up to the games, and then the games. Training takes care of itself. Demands 100%. This is the thing that we talk about football and footballers 24/7. So the moment the staff came in, before they'd even having the boots off, what was he like today? I seen him walk in. What was he? What's on? So again, face for them, face for the staff. We all ate together. We insisted on eating together. Banter was still flying. I was still, me. Do you know what I mean? And it was, there was a different flow to the training ground, Sean. So I was happier with the group and happier where I thought we were going as a club. There were certain things that we implemented within the club about, the changing rooms, about the physio room, about the gym, about timings, about individual action plans, about individual analysis, all changes to help develop the player and the growth mindset within the club. I was big into it, I was big into personal development. The sweat boxes were built to help first touch, to really get them focused on touch and movement and side on and half turn and, 1 and 2 touch things. So I was constantly trying to really bring players out. Normally players, they want to come in, they want to go home. But I kept them in and said, right, well, the game's the greatest teacher. It doesn't lie. So good, bad, or indifferent, watch the game. Because there will be some things, regardless if you've played well or you've had a stinker, there will be certain things in a game that you will use. And then in the latter stages of my playing career, I used it a lot. Even things that I thought, you can't teach an old dog, new tricks. Bunk them. Absolute bunk them, you can. And it was this professional development, continuous learning. So they were getting more of that. They were getting more individual treatment. Some players take 2 days to recover after games. Others a day. Others don't want to miss training. So we were trying to educate them, always educating them. And it was a journey I was hoping we were all going on.
A year after you and Brian signed 2-year contracts, John Gorman returns as assistant manager, and Brian Clew, he moves into for most fans, a pretty vague role of involvement with the academy and the youngsters. Whose decision was this, and what did John Gorman bring?
It was my decision. It was my decision to move Brian back into that position, because he's one of the best development coaches I've ever been around in the game. And, there was a major influence again on trying to bridge the gap between academy football and our first team. So Brian had great knowledge of that, and he was going to assist Simon. So he was going to watch lots of games. I still would have taken Brian's opinion on opposition analysis. I would have still taken Brian's opinion on players within the football club and team selections. Just John, I'd had a working relationship with John over, say, a 10 or 15 year period. And John just had this wonderful way with players. And it wasn't a reflection on Brian. Everyone's different. Brian's way with players would have been totally different. And John just added that security and confidence and dealing with a lot of things that probably I didn't have to deal with. And he was a fantastic buffer between the first team change room and my office. So he headed people off at the pass. Lots of times he would have just said, listen, not a good time. Or let me deal with it. I'll go to the manager. And the amount of times that we've taken, if you like, pressure cooker situations and just eased it away and dealt with the individual or dealt with the group. It was a great working relationship, and I had so much respect for him.
As a fan from the outside, trying to work out the organisational structure when Brian Clew moved, did he still report to you, or did he report to somebody else? Or
reported to me, and obviously that there were always going to be conversations with Sam. There was always going to be conversations with Marcus, but Brian was never. There was always this again speculation around it, and it wasn't anything to do with that. And Brian, as I said, I'd valued his opinion on most things.
In the FA Cup third round tie at home at Chesterfield, we win 3-0, but a 15-year-old Connor Wickham makes his way onto the bench for the first time. What was he like as a prospect?
Outstanding. Both feet, physically. He was the closest thing that I'd ever seen to Whiteside. I saw Whiteside as a 15-year-old destroy Germany at Windsor Park, destroy them. I saw this man come out, and he was 15 years of age, and he had this unbelievable left foot. Norman Whiteside, he was just an absolute dream. What a player. And I saw lots of traits in Connor, and just Connor's willingness to listen, his willingness to learn. He was mentally years ahead, and I just really wanted the boy to get involved, and it was important that we again had that connection. That it wasn't a sympathy vote. It wasn't looking for any praise. It was just I liked the boy, and age was not a barrier for me.
Did you think about sticking him on at any point?
Yeah, I did, and then we did give him his debut.
You did, yeah. That was what, Doncaster in March.
Yeah.
One of the questions I want to ask you before we move on, some people say, well, we had Jordan Rhodes and we had Connor Wickham, and there's no way that you can have two young teenagers playing in the first team. Was that your kind of thought?
No, I think that's bunkum too. I just think, of course, there's experience counts for a lot. Of course it does. And you're coming up against centre halves who will be very physical, probably very vocal. But both them boys have gone on to prove that they could handle it. So no, it was Jordan more than anything. It was about giving them game time, make him acknowledge the profession he was in, and also the toughest job in football, scoring goals, and to get him in a good position and get him back to us to score goals for us. The other fella just came along, and when you get a boy like him, you want to show him off. You want people to see him, not because it's this little praise thing, like this gimmick. This kid was going to be a player. This kid was, and he was going to play for Ipswich Town. There was no doubt in my mind he was going to play, as I expected Jordan to as well.
On February the 16th, 2009, Town are 11th in the table, and the East Anglian Daily Times ran a campaign asking for you to be sacked. Do you think it's the responsibility of a local newspaper to be so partisan?
No, I didn't. I still don't to this day. I thought it was abuse of power. I thought that Terry was a season ticket holder, but being a fan of the club from probably birth. So I think it was an abuse of power. I thought it was uncalled for. I don't think it was needed. What was needed was a little bit more support, in my opinion. He forgets that, I had two sons and a wife, and it was as damning for them to read a front page cover, and then that other idiot pick over that night, run one as well. I thought it was embarrassing, but it happened, and again I kind of dismissed it, and because again I was still in the job. I was so focused on the job. I was focused on Ipswich Town doing well. That was my own focus. I thought that kind of way was a reflection of the journalist as well at the time. And they were sniffing around things. They were searching for things. And there was nothing there. All sorts of stories were coming out. Nothing. Absolutely zero. Because I had too much respect for the job and too much respect for myself to ever let anything like that get in the way. So, I just didn't, I thought it was uncalled for.
It was around that time that John Gorman then started taking the press conferences. Can you explain the reason why?
To annoy him more than anything. Go on, John, you do it. And probably just to annoy the journalists too. So having a bit of fun. But listen, at the end of the day, it's part of my job, and I saw it as a very serious part of my job. But it was just to get Gorman in their faces too, and see how they reacted to John. Listen, John came through quite a bit when he was assistant manager to Glen Hoddle for England. So John would have faced a few fairer press conferences than the ones I was throwing him into.
In March, you bring in Giovanni Dos Santos on loan from Spurs. The 19-year-old Mexican is up there definitely when we talk about the greatest loanee players at Ipswich, apart from a central midfielder that joined from Sheffield Wednesday as well. How on earth did you get this deal done?
I conned the living daylights clean out of him. And Harry. And as I just said, we have a fantastic stadium. We have a fantastic training ground, fantastic pitches, hopefully a fantastic group of players that you'll enjoy working with. Fans are passionate. You're going to love it. You'll play with a smile on your face, because I'm going to let you take goal kicks, corner kicks, free kicks, make the tea, eat sandwich, do what, but we're going to get you the ball. And on a serious side, I wanted someone who was going to put bums on seats again and get people actually generating that excitement, because we're in the entertainment business. I wanted to entertain people. I always did. You don't win the amount of home games that we won if you're setting out a negative mindset in players. Go and play to the best of your ability. You've all got fantastic qualities. Out there and show it. Don't show it in here. Don't show it waiting training. Get out on the park and tell me, show the people what a good player you are. But more importantly, show yourself. So De Santos loved all that. And I meant that. I meant that from the bottom of my heart. So we got him. And then, go and play. Get him the ball. Try every chance you get him the ball. Because he's gonna light the place up.
How did he stand out compared to the rest of your team, with all due respect?
No, listen, good players love playing with good players. And I used to love it. You know, the prospect when Finidi came, the prospect of playing with Finidi George, was something brilliant. When I played with Di Canio and played with Carboni and played with Des Walker and with Latez, and they motivate you. So I was hoping to use it as motivation. Listen, if you're playing with De Santos, he is going to make you a good player. Get the ball into him, because he very rarely gives the ball away. Low centre of gravity, willow the whistle across the ground, quick with it as he is without it. So all those sorts of aspects, I knew it would generate positivity within the change room.
It was a great time. I mean, he scored 4 and 8 appearances, and like I said, 11 years on, is still fondly remembered for those 8 appearances. On the April the 8th, Marcus Evans starts to rebuild his executive structure within the club.
Yeah.
Derek Bowden announces that he'll be leaving at the end of the season. David Sheepshanks is going to expected to move on from his non-executive position.
Yeah.
And there's the name that we suddenly hear, that Simon Clegg, the former chief of the British Olympic Association.
Yeah.
What's your gut feeling at this point?
Major changes. I knew then I would be facing questions. I felt that. But again, I was very positive. I had the answers and knew that there was a sea change. Knew that Marcus wanted to bring his individuals into the football club, which is his divine right. He was spending lots of money at the club and he wanted to make changes. As I wanted to make backroom changes, he felt the same way. So there was never an issue. The challenge I faced when I met Clegg was that when I met him in London, I walked away knowing that he and I wouldn't be in a working relationship. And if he was bringing him in, meant then that I'd be facing difficult questions with Marcus. It was kind of way, can I work with Simon? I'm sure 100% could have worked with Simon, but I never got that impression. I can work with anyone, but just a feeling that he was sounding me out and I was sounding him out. Again, I'd done a background check on him. I had a dossier that thick on him. So we exchanged pleasantries. The meeting went pretty quickly. I outlined my thoughts and plans. He told me what Marcus' thoughts and plans were. He told me the type of person he was. See you later. Good luck. Bye. It was the last time I seen him.
So, in what turns out to be your last game in charge, 3-2 victory over Norwich at Portman Road, which is also the last time that Ipswich have beaten Norwich.
Right.
Simon Clegg arrives on the 21st of April.
Yeah.
And on the 22nd of April, you're no longer Ipswich Town manager.
Yeah.
Can you take us through from the Norwich game, winning, the start of the Norwich game, through to being told that actually you're out of a job?
Yeah, they score early. I think they score in the first couple of minutes. Then they start, their fans are getting naughty, 2 in the morning, of which a section of our fans were clapping, which didn't go down well with me. But again, the nature of the beast, more focused on the players. Players were brilliant, responded brilliantly in the game, battered them. We footballed them to death. And in my opinion, we had created so many chances during the game. They scored first minute and last minute, I think. And in between that, we had created many, many chances. I thought we played well on the day. And I felt we deserved to win the game. And that was kind of where we were at. I do know subsequently, Ian Milne had said something to Charlie, saying, that was a poor performance. And Charlie ate him alive. So, I'll show you what Ian Milne knows. And I would have acknowledged Brian Gunn was brilliant after the game as well. Fantastic after the game. Said played well. You really can see, things are going to happen here. Blah blah. Very positive. And it's difficult in that sort of situation. But Gunny was top man, and I always respected him for it. After, because he actually messaged me after culminating in 48 hours or 72 hours later The thing was, the Sunday was grand. It was a relief, obviously, to win the game, but I always felt we had enough to win the game. Just got the staff together. We had a couple of beers in the office. Everybody went their separate ways. And then on the Monday, it was there was a game at Bury St Edmunds, reserve game or a game, and a few of the lads were going to play. And also Monday night was the end of season 2. So I was travelling with Steve, Foley, and John to watch the game. Right, so you never switch off going to watch the game. I got a phone call. My dad rings me and says, "Listen, your mum just been issued the last rites, basically. So you need to get home if you can. So get yourself home." So I kind of stopped the car and said to the guy, John, was get your backside to Belfast as quickly as you can. John, my dad, he says, get there. You'll regret it for the rest of your days. Steve was exactly the same. Both of them were fantastic. I may have had my passport in the briefcase or whatever. So I went with the clothes on, and they drove me to, don't worry about the game, don't worry about this, don't worry about anything, just go. So I went to the airport, managed to get on the first flight, straight to the hospital. Mum's in intensive care. So I'm shattered. So the elation of 24 hours to reality dates. So I'm going, but in the meantime, I'm trying to ring Clegg, I'm trying to ring Baxter, and they've gone missing. Liam Neeson couldn't get them. So continues tried. Then John rang me. I said, how'd it go? He says, don't worry about it. He says, but it was weird. Definitely something going on, Jim. So I went, right, what's going on? And I couldn't get hold of Piercy either. And Piercy's always been a great, great friend of mine. And I couldn't get hold of anyone. And so that was the Monday. And then on the Tuesday, was it the Monday? Tuesday, I'm obviously doing bedside vigil all day. John's checking in with me, asking for feedback. And he says, no, but it's strange. Something's going on. Right, okay. I haven't been able to get Baxter. I haven't been able to get Clegg. I haven't heard from Marcus, even after the game. So Tuesday night, I'm in my dad's. Mum's still in hospital. Phone call, 10 o'clock. Marcus, I need to speak to you Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock. I said, right, okay, no problem. And then I said to him, yeah, my mum's okay, by the way. But she wasn't. And he kind of rejected him. And Jim, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, Marcus, dead on. I'll speak to you in the morning. 10 o'clock, we're at the hospital. On the dot, Sean. Boom. Jim, moving forward, I'm going to have a change. Words to that effect. And, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I want to thank you for your time. Can we negotiate the deal now? I'm standing outside hospital in intensive care. My mum's on a life support, and you want to talk about a deal. It's not going to happen. Okay? It's not going to happen. Well, can we say mutual consent? Marcus, I'm not even in a fit state to even be talking to you. So please get off the phone before you definitely say something that you'll regret, or maybe you won't. So I can't wait, done. That was my life at Ipswich, over in that. But the reality, again, living in Northern Ireland, was my dad and I, so I told my dad, he couldn't believe it. And then it came up. Sky Sports, Jim Magilton sacked at Ipswich Town. So there's an old boy sitting opposite me, Sean. You'll love this, right? And he's eating, and he's looking up, and there's a picture of me, and I'm looking over at him, and he's looking at me, and he goes, and we're at the hospital, you know what I mean? And you know what it's like? And he goes, you've had a shitty day, haven't you? I thought it was hilarious. I was killing myself laughing. My dad just nearly fell off the seat. It's just typical here, but listen, that night wasn't a good night, I have to say, for my mum more than anything. But anyway, 10, 11 years of your life, and then a 3-minute call, done. And then, that afternoon, obviously, it's the unveiling of Roy. The chairman was brilliant. David gave me a heads up prior to it. Roy Keane's got the job. I'm sorry the way it's done. Terry Baxter rang me, and he got it. Double-barreled. And again, Terry was the messenger. He couldn't, but I'd known him, 10 years, 11 years, always had a relationship with Terry, and he couldn't find time just to let me know. So, kind of way, I think that was the last time I'd ever spoken to Terry, before and since. So, that's the kind of way how it was dealt. It wasn't dealt with in any way, shape, or form that reflects that football club, because that football club always had class, and it was classless. and that was disappointing. But again, it was the sign of the times. And as I say, I always had a great relationship with Marcus up until that point. And that point, I think, could he take it back? Would he have done it differently? He may have. Again, it's not a question I've asked him. It's not a question I would ask him. But kind of the rush job for Roy to get in, Roy to get in a couple of games, get a feel of the place, right? And he wasn't to know that my mum wasn't well. That was just life. And sometimes life gets in the way of things. But I think they could have dealt with it better. But I have no regrets, and there's no sour grapes over it. I think, that feeling, I've lost both my parents now, and they were extremely proud of my life at Ipswich Town and what in my career, not only at Ipswich, but my career. So there's no ill feeling towards it, Stevie. This club and what you've done, and what you've done and talked me through it, you deserve so much credit for that. I'll always be very appreciative of what you've done for me in this, because this has been a great reflection for me. This is the first time I've spoken about it since I left, and the outpouring and the generosity from fans have been staggering. It's been, so I've been so gracious, so very, very kind, and very grateful for it.
I think I speak on behalf of all the fans, whether they were Jim in or Jim out at the end, that we would kind of apologise about how you were treated at the end, because it certainly wasn't the Ipswich way. There were only 2 games left of the season. Surely they could have given you those 2 games. What was Roy going to assess in 2 games?
I have no idea. Marcus. Yeah, you need to ask Marcus. Maybe it was just to get a feel for the place. Maybe it was just to send out a message. It was definitely clear saying, to send out a message to the championship. We've got Roy Keane in, and Roy Keane, in his first managerial job, got Sunderland into the promised land. And that was a clear message to everybody that Roy Keane was here to deliver on the promises that Marcus had made. That's the message I got from it. That's what I took from it.
What support did you get from your former teammates or current managers when the news broke?
I think a lot rang, and I just kind of switched off. Mick McCarthy rang me, wished me all the best when he found out kind of what happened. Thought it was a bit premature, but other managers left messages, kind messages. Lots of players left kind messages. But listen, I wasn't wallowing in self-pity. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't looking for, I was really just upset that my mum wasn't well. And you have to deal with that, because that's reality. I didn't want to lose my mum. Do you know what I mean? I can lose a football job. I can lose jobs, but I didn't want to lose my mum. Sean, do you know what I mean? So my focus was on my mum and making sure she could pull through this. And she did pull through it. She fought through it. Now, she passed later on in the year. But she fought and she got through it. And that was all that mattered to me. All that mattered to me.
So Roy Keane, the one that you were both, going at each other, and when he was on the telephone in his car, so you're watching from afar. What was your view about Roy Keane when he was named as your successor, and in particular the rebranding of Ipswich Town Football Club to Roy Keane's Ipswich Town?
Yeah, listen, that you can't deny it doesn't pinch. Of course it pinches, and because you were in the process of building, and I'm a builder. I like that thought. I like being in the process of making good things happen and being a part of it, and it's living and breathing, and everyone is in it, and they're all developing at different rates, but we're all developing. We're all part of this plan. So for him to take over the reins, listen, it is the nature of the beast. It's, managers get sacked all the time, and a new manager comes in. It's all the bunkum that you hear around that. Oh, training's different. There's a different this. There's a bunkum. As I said before, it's you as a pro. If you want to be a better player, you should train like that all the time. You don't wait for a new manager to come in to elevate yourself to new levels. That's bunkum. That shows you again the flaws in their character. So I heard an awful lot. I heard ex-players, and I kind of tried to switch off from it. I heard a bunkum from ex-players, some chirping up, some standing outside the ground. Listen, it was water off a duck's back again. I had relocating. I had to get the house sold. I had to do this. So there was a lot of life things needed to happen, and important things. But I wanted to get out of Dodge as quickly as possible. and I wasn't kind of hiding away. Just, it's life. And again, what did I learn? It was an incredible learning experience for an ex-player to take the manager's job at Ipswich Town football club, a club that he loved, is huge, and it had a huge impact on me. But it was a great learning curve for me, and for the years thereafter.
Do you assume, as fans, you often hear players and managers say, "Oh, one of the first results I look at when I come in at full time." Do you still, keep an eye on the town?
Yeah, and a spell where I wasn't really interested in anything, basically. You know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely do. And listen, the plight of the club since, in terms of, a League One club, is mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me. But again, that's the current. It's the current climate. It's maybe the current group. It's just mind-boggling to me to think that we were always competitive in the Championship, looking to play in the Premier League, to play in the Premier League, to get relegated, but to be competitive again. For me, the club has a massive standing in the game and should not be in there. And Paul has a big job, but Paul again has a proven record, and given time and the right quality, who knows?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and I'm not asking you to point fingers, but obviously when you took over in 2006, it was not that long after we had 2 playoff matches against West Ham. We'd recently come down from the Premier League, and now, as you say, we find ourselves in League One. And why do you think that's happened?
I don't know. It's a mindset. It must be a mindset of players. Must be. It can't be anything else, because, as I've said and gone on record, you look at the managers that he's employed, they've all got a proven track record. So of promotions and of quality. So it's the player. It comes down to the player. Maybe it's the manager motivating the player. I don't know, because I'm not on side, and I don't see them every week. You'll have a better understanding of that, and you're probably more astute in terms of what you've seen. And given an answer, for me, it's quite scary, but it's happened in the past, because it's happened to Leeds, it's happened to Sheffield United, and it's incredible how momentum the opposite way, momentum that way is fantastic. Momentum the other way, it's so difficult to stop, and this mindset of not winning games and not, or not having the confidence maybe to play, or once it sets in with players, it's very hard to shake. And I don't know what's happened to the club in terms of that, because as I say, in my opinion, the club should not be in League One.
So last question, Jim, thank you for your time. Which era was easier to manage in, pre or post Evans?
Listen, I enjoyed both immensely, I have to say. I enjoyed both, but I'm always going to be indebted to the chairman, David Sheepshanks, and Derek Bowden, and the wonderful board. They had such belief in me. They gave me such confidence. And respect. I respected them so much, because it was a leap of faith, a real leap of faith. And they trusted me with their football club. All of them were season ticket. All of them are Ipswich Town staff. They trusted me with their football club. And I took that as an absolute honour, to this day. So being appointed manager of this club on the back of successful people, successful businessmen handing me that responsibility will live with me for the rest of my days. And I enjoyed it immensely. I enjoyed the conversations I had with Marcus, with a lot of respect for Marcus, a lot of time for Marcus, what he has given the football club, where he has taken the club. He spent a lot of money, so you have to respect that. He wants the club to be in the Premier League. Now, whether he has the same ambition as he had when he first came in, only again you can answer that. I'm not on side. I don't know. I don't get the vibe, but certainly I want this club to be successful. I want this club to be successful so badly. So we're all on the same page here.
Well, thank you, Jim. I just want to say it's not just me sitting here coming up with the questions. I'd like to thank the Blue Monday podcast as well. There's a number of people who have helped and supported me. I'd also like to thank Craig Bannister. Craig, he was one of your scouts.
He was.
And I sniffed that out a little while ago on Twitter about 3 years ago, and I started sort of bombarding him with DMs saying that I'd really like to interview Jim, and I'd like to thank Craig for encouraging me to kind of keep pestering you, but you know, I have to end with saying thank you, Jim. Thank you for the time as player and manager. You gave us many happy memories. You know, some good, some bad, but there are memories that will stick with us. We wish you all the very best in your next stage of the career, and if you're successful in getting the top job at the IFA, we'd all love to come over and see you when you lead the team out. So best of luck and
Sean,
good luck.
brilliant. I will be over, Sean. I will definitely be over. You and I'll have a pint and we'll enjoy the game. And no, listen, thank you. It's been terrific. I've really enjoyed it. It's given me a real insight into me, and I don't often reflect in that way. So, and thank you to the many Ipswich fans that have been so gracious. It's just been a terrific few weeks, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you.